everybody, it's Khristina from Redefine Creative, and I am so excited because my friend Sarah and I have gotten together a bunch of our YouTube creative friends for a Leap Day Jump into Multi-Photo Layouts Hop. This is something that you guys ask me for over and over and over and over and over. And so I got together a bunch of people that I thought could give you some inspiration for all those layouts that are not single photo layouts. So exciting. So I am going to play with 3 or possibly 4 pictures, and these are of my boys playing basketball. Of course, sports layouts, but we've switched sports, so you get to see something a little different today. This is just in our backyard. So we have like a little basketball court corner of our backyard, and it gets a lot of basketball action. Our kids really like it. So I have some just action shots, basically. And I cut them to 3.5 by 3.5, the square ones, I believe. And then the other one is, I can't remember. I want to say 4.5 by 3.5. Oh, okay. Sizes of photos aside. So I've taken my white cardstock and I've put a little border of this red pattern paper around the background. And then I added some of that Juniper Mist, which is like almost like a navy ink from Catherine Pooler around the edges. And then I'm going to back my photos with white cardstock, and then I'm also going to back them with navy cardstock. And the navy, I'm putting just a teeny tiny little border. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know I'm going to have a lot of cardstock, like pattern paper layers, and this darker shade is going to help my photos pop off the page. So I know that I want to have them basically lined up across like the top third of my page. So I'm not a huge fan of having my photos like right in the middle of the page. I either want them a little bit towards the bottom or a little bit towards the top. And so then I went ahead and cut all these strips. And these are seriously, you guys, out of my scrap bin. So things I've been using in projects lately, some of them are old, just a lot of scraps. So we've got some navy cardstock. We've got this green polka dot, which is from like seriously a dinosaur collection, I think. We got some red cardstock, and then we have that star paper from Bella Boulevard, and you guys saw me use a little piece of that earlier this week for another project. So when I'm playing around with these strips, what I tend to do is glue just in the middle so that I can decide where I want them to be, and then I trim the edges and then glue the edges. So that way you're not trying to layer up and put all these strips on your paper without having anything glued down, because I just find that really kind of tedious. So what I decided to start doing, and it was one of those moments where you're like, why didn't I do this sooner? If you just glue down the very middle, it stays where you want it to stay, and then you can cut the edges to be whatever length you want them to be, which is, just one of those things that was like an aha moment. I decided to add another little strip of red up there across my navy just to kind of extend where my photos were, because I was feeling like I had put my layers too far to the bottom. And I had just got done telling you guys, I want them to be in the top third of the page, and then they ended up towards the bottom, which is bad. So I went ahead and just took all my layers off and moved them up. And that works. And I have no idea why my lighting got like all crazy weird right there. I'm sorry, you guys. That's insane. So then I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut a whole bunch of stars. And this is one of the new pattern paper from Let's Wander, which is Vicky Booten's new collection. And these stars, you guys, I need 8 sheets of them, I think, so that I can just fussy cut all the stars. So I'm going to take them, and I'm just kind of like folding up the edges a little bit because I want them to be a little bit dimensional. And I'm going to create this big border around the bottom of my photo mat. And I thought I was going to tuck some in the top, and then I decided that I was not going to tuck them in the top, so I moved them back to the bottom. And some of them are going to get tucked underneath. Some of them are going to get layered up on top of each other. I'm just creating a really fun dimensional border along the bottom of my photos. So the vast majority of all my embellishing is going to be right in that center area. So it's really going to play along with the fact that I have my photos in a horizontal line. So now I've kind of got my embellishments in a horizontal line. So then I decided I wanted to get this piece of notebook paper in here. So I added some blue ink just to make it, fit with the rest of the layout. And I'm going to tuck that into the top edge of my photos, just you know, more dimension, a little bit different. And then I'm going to add a little piece of this same paper down in this bottom corner. So I do a torn edge and I do the blue ink, and this is going to basically end up being where my title goes. So because I'm adding two little pieces of that lined paper, I want to put them on opposite sides of the layout. That's going to kind of just help create a lot more balance across my layout. So most everything is horizontally spaced. So all my lines are going horizontally. And then my line paper is going to be on the opposite edges. So one in the top left, one in the bottom right. And then I'm just going to fussy cut and add a few more of the smaller stars. So I'm going to have one cluster up in the top section and then one cluster in the bottom. And then I do this really cool thing, which I think is a cool thing. I layered up some stars for my border in the middle because there's all different sizes of stars on this pattern paper. And then I took my tiny attacher and I just crisscrossed like two little staples in the middle of those two stars. And I just think that that just looks adorable. It just adds a whole different texture. So then I went ahead and I also add that staple detail throughout a few other places on my layout, and you'll be able to see those a lot better in the close-up images. But I'm just going to keep adding, and I decided that I needed more of those double ones in the middle. And so then I was just going to do those 5 and leave the orange one without one. And then I thought, well, that looks funny. So then I went ahead and just did all of the big ones double. And this is where I'm just adding that little crisscross detail in a few other places around the layout. And then I have these stickers that I wanted to use for a title. And I very much wanted to use best friends down here in the bottom. Because even though these two will tell you that they drive each other crazy and they wish they didn't have a brother, they're like best friends, biggest fans. Like Parker walks on water, according to Ty. So that's what we're documenting along with these pictures. I have these little puffy sticker basketballs, and I'm going to stick a bunch of those just tucked in underneath my stars, just to kind of bring in a tiny bit of that sports theme to what's going on. So I just have them tucked in. They're not going to take center stage or anything. They're just going to kind of be an added little detail. And then I'm trying to decide if I want to put anything else down here on the bottom, and so I decide to add that little arrow right by best friends. And then I'm just going to start playing around with adding a whole bunch of enamel dots. And my nails are longer than what I'm used to them being right now. And so the tiny enamel dots are a little bit of a struggle. But I left that in here because, you know, it is okay to have a little bit of a struggle, you guys. It happens sometimes. So I'm just scattering all of these little enamel dots along that same line that kind of all of my embellishments have. I'm using the teeny tiny ones and the medium-sized ones. The big enamel dots, you guys know, I just really struggle with the bigger ones. Like, I just need the tiny ones. I just need the tiny ones in my life. All right, so I've got all of those on there. I'm just trying to decide if there's anything else that I feel like this layout is going to need. So I'm looking through everything that I still have. Is there anything else that I can get onto this layout that's going to add to it or not seem like it's too much? I try that word fun and that doesn't do it, so I decide I am done. And that's gonna do it for me. Do make sure that you have stopped by all of the channels of the ladies who are playing along today. Hopefully you have found some new inspiring women to play along with, and you've gotten lots of ideas for multi-photo layouts, and we have made your like February bonus leap day a little bit better. Bye, friends.